My conversation was with Esther Lee of AT&T, and we were talking about some of the changing dynamics that are happening not only in the marketplace for the consumer, but for marketers, and how media agencies have had to really change and adapt to that, but also lead the way in terms of what those opportunities are. So you think about data and the proliferation of data, and I would say in the past that we were always included in that, whether you were talking about a modeling conversation, but now it's about how we leverage that data to connect to different platforms and media owners to really activate not just in kind of near real time, but real time to really identify what is the right connection to the consumer. So that's just one aspect. Another is content. So if you think about a traditional creative agency, very much in the area of messaging and content, media agencies, through the connection with media owners, started to develop more integrated opportunities with different networks and have continued to offer that up. And it's obviously not just something that's happening kind of offline, but also online as well, as the proliferation continues in that space. I think that the word creativity is used to apply shouldn't just be used to apply to just a creative agency or an ad agency, but to all agencies, because we all need to be creative on behalf of our clients, and that's what media agencies do. It's not just about being a media partner or a business partner, it's about bringing a strategic and creative lens. So as far as the content goes, we are able to collaborate and partner with the ad agencies to actually push that content out, because a great idea doesn't mean anything if you can't distribute it and get it to the right people at the right time in the right place. So that's really been our role, and that will continue to evolve over time.
And what about, we had there's been a lot of conversation, yesterday with Lionsgate and the conversation of this whole new world of subscription, Netflix, Amazon, video on demand, where, advertisers play and television has changed. What are the new opportunities? How do you guys have to pivot? We're certainly interested in branded content, but what's the new mix, and how do you see it unfolding, and what's the role of the agency?
So you bring up content where you're talking over the top, people are paying for that content, because at the end of the day, it's about what they really want. Advertisers have all along been supplementing the cost of that for the consumer. So we need to find new ways to deliver that. So it could actually be a more integrated offering. It could be something that's more subtle in the way that it's brought to the consumer. You're going to continue to see more experimentation along those lines, because there are more and more ways for consumers to avoid those types of messages. So it's about how the brand can be integral. And to your point about yesterday and the content panel, I thought they did a good job kind of trying to find the right balance of where should a brand be really over, like in the Lego movie, versus where should a brand be more subtle in terms of what it's delivering. But if you have a company that's very much about kind of media and the consumption, then you have that opportunity to actually be more expressive and, again, more front and center for the content. Data is critical, and the last panel that was focused on data and should third parties have more access to data, really it's a trust issue. But if you think about what you can do with that data, it's pretty incredible. In the future with programmatic and addressable, we need that data to action against the learning and the insights that we have. So the goal is to continue to leverage that, and there are so many disparate data points. It's about how you connect those different data points to make them really actionable, but also about adding value at the end of the day and real results. One of the things that we're doing, we actually developed a new approach to the purchase journey. It's MEC Momentum, and it's about not just looking at the active stage that consumers may be in when they're closer to purchase or intent, but also looking at the passive stage and understanding the messages that build in the back and the subconscious of a consumer's mind, making up that active stage. And so we've been focused on doing various studies around the world. We've interviewed over 100,000 consumers, both quant and qual, and it's something that we're applying into our overall new planning approach, which is called T5, about really getting deep and understanding the strategic approach for the consumer journey. So as we look to the future, one of the ways that we've been working with AT&T, and Esther Lee talks about filter failure, right? Just the deluge of kind of emails and solicitations that they get, and the need for someone, a partner, to really help them navigate through that. So we've done work with AT&T, helping them understand what's out there in Silicon Valley, the VC community, where we had connected them with a company called Quantifind, and then also just in terms of millennial marketing and youth marketing, connecting them with Vice and different content partnerships and opportunities moving forward for the future. future. With Vice, there actually was a whole experience at South by Southwest on the mobile movement that Vice created to have a more interactive experience for that consumer, and again, different ways that they're going to leverage that partnership. So it's just starting now, and it will continue to unfold throughout the year.
So the ROI on these sort of projects are very, very different, aren't they? What do clients expect, and what do you need to deliver as far as ROI?
So you bring up a good point, because it's really about aligning on what the expectations, the objectives are up front, because you've got short-term metrics and you've got long-term metrics. A lot of the projects that we're talking about, where you're talking about more experiential, tend to focus more on the long-term, the equity, how are you impacting NPS for some clients, whereas other aspects where you're really kind of hardcore driving an actual sale, you're going to be looking more at those short-term metrics. But at the end of the day, it all needs to work together, because we're not siloing what are we doing in television or what are we doing in display. It needs to be the entire experience, because consumers are not discriminating.
We've gone to all these different places and been able to embrace the culture there. We learn what other agencies are like and how we can take all these best practices back to your own agency and really learn. And the best part, we always talk about, it's not about talking, it's about doing.